cape.
Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and some huge news just got dropped over on the Warhammer community page. We're going to go explore that, and if you haven't been a part of one of these videos before, whenever a large news item like an event release or something like that goes on, basically I pull up the article, we go through it step by step, and talk about the cool things that are coming, and then I go back and talk about my thoughts on them. Some things I'm excited about, things that I'm nervous about, stuff like that. And just have a good discussion along the way. So let's head over and we will make that down. Okay, so here we are at the community page. Before I begin, I do want to say a big shout out to Aaron Dembski-Bowden, who is a Black Library author and a very prolific one. He's written a lot of books. But they did a Tale of Four Warlords, and he gave me and another YouTube channel, Aravandus, I believe is how you pronounce it, shout outs for being inspirations for his Deepkin army. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. But the main event we're talking about here is the Blood and Glory Studio Preview. So this is going to be kind of a big release of like reveal of what they're kind of planning out the next couple weeks to months, things like that. And so we kick right off with a look at Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is super relevant because honestly it's been kind of quiet since the Beastman book came out, which is probably pretty good. There's a lot of purchases going on there, and we're still getting used to second edition. But this video, there's not much to it. I have the volume off, and it really is just this moon that kind of warps into the leering bad moon face. So it is clearly Moonclan Grots coming out next, which I'm super excited for. I have like 120 Grots. I'm going to see how the army develops. We'll talk about that when I give my thoughts here. Then scrolling down, this is a pretty long post, by the way. So scrolling down, they're bringing back, I think, one of the chariots or something like that. Yeah. Just kind of adding to some really, really cool looking Beastman models, I guess you could say, or Beasts of Chaos. If you're into that, that's awesome. I do love the two different... I've always liked the two different animals pulling this thing. So that's pretty darn cool. Next up, this is relevant for AOS as well. If you didn't see or get the information before, so Realm of Chaos, Wrath and Rapture, it seems to be a game versus Khorne versus Slaanesh set in the Realm of Chaos, but for both universes. It's kind of game agnostic when it comes to being 40k or AOS, because they both use demons and things like that. And the Flesh Hounds coming out there. Of course, right below that is the new Fiends. We already saw these get spoiled, and I'll pull this up. It's much easier to look at pictures on this than it is in this format than the videos. But they're looking great. Curious to see how many kit options there are. Obviously the tails, I'm assuming the heads, but I'm kind of interested in the legs and things like that. One thing I want to point out on the model on the left, I love the, I'll try my mouse here, the etching on the leg, I don't know, the thigh basically. I wonder if that's painted on or if it's modeled in. If it's modeled in, that would be incredible to see that level of detail. But either way, they look great. I know Jack over at Rerolling Ones is going to be super pumped for all the Slaanesh stuff. Then they kind of segued into Warhammer 40k. And if you're not familiar with Warhammer 40k or you don't play it, not interested in it, that's fine. You can skip a little bit. But basically, it's just a trailer for their new chapter approved. If you remember when Age of Sigmar got the General's Handbook, the second one, I believe, they did a really funny 1980s fantasy retro movie of lightning striking a rock, and then there's the book there or something crazy like that. It's the same thing. It's kind of playing on nostalgia in the 80s. The cool things coming out here, Orcs, which is relevant to me, get looted vehicles, but it's mostly just for open play and narrative games, as well as there's going to be rules for Sisters of Battle if you play that army. It's kind of their beta codex is what they're calling it, which I think is a cool new avenue. We'll talk about that later. And then also an army supplement for the Tau, who I think are in a rough place. I don't know. I don't follow 40k competitive stuff. It really is friendly games locally, and that's all I do for it. A few bit of information bits on Sisters of Battle. And then we kind of stop here. And if you have been following at all with 40k at all, the setting for a lot of their recent releases, the Space Marine and Eldar box, the Orc Speed Freak set, the Genestealer Cult and Space Wolves box, all those happen on the same planet, which is kind of strange. What it really is I think they're setting themselves up for the next narrative campaign for 40k, which is going to take place on that planet. If you're unfamiliar with 40k lore, I think I'm going to start exploring it a little bit more on this channel. But the universe, our galaxy, was basically rent in half. And there is one bridge to go from one half to the other. And in one of the gateways, I guess you could say, on this bridge is a planet called Vigilus. And it has been under attack from, like I said, Eldar, Genestealer cults, which would bring in eventually Tyranids, and then Orcs. And they also list off basically all the major factions of mankind of the Imperium. So you got Guard there, Space Marines, Mechanicus, I'm assuming Sisters of Battle make an appearance. And it's they're kind of just giving us a teaser as like what's coming next. The video ends with like a call for reinforcements, which I'm sure is going to be new models coming out as a supplement. That's cool. You got some Necromunda stuff. If you play Necromunda, let me know. I'm actually kind of curious about that. I was going to, and then Kill Team came out, and I was like, oh no, that's what I want to do instead. I think I like Necromunda. I love the idea of it. But it gets very granular when it comes to like all the various special rules and tests and all that stuff like that. Whereas I find Kill Team very fluid. And so I want to hear your thoughts on Kill Team versus Necromunda. I must say, though, these are some of the coolest stinking looking models ever. I'm trying to think of ways to use them as cultists in my Age of Sigmar army. I would have to do a lot of trimming off of all the sci-fi stuff. But even then, there's not a ton. I mean, on their actual persons, you got like grenades, but it's mostly just a large black cloak, so that would totally work. And I'm very excited about that. New supplement book. Whenever they release a new faction, they put out a supplement so that there's something for everyone in there, and obviously your special rules for that faction. But then we come to my favorite thing, talking about Nightvault, which here's the thing. I've asked around quite a bit. Locally, there's just not a lot of players for Undergrounds, and not enough that I would really want to invest in it. But I do love the models. I will say that, and they're perfect for conversions and things like that. And this is just a little preview showing off some cool artwork, but this is where the meat of it is. This is the Slaves to Darkness. Well, that's not Slaves to Darkness. It's Darkoath. Very important distinction. Which is I believe, Chaos Undivided faction. So, going from left to right, we have super awesome Spear Chick, who is amazing. Look at that dynamic pose. She looks like she's moving, and I love it. The guy second to the left looks like a repose of the Darkoath War Chief, which is cool. I really like him. I use him in my games sometimes. Very neat model. He's a little static, but I like the aggressive look of his head. Like he looks like he's staring down something. Your lady in the center, I'm assuming, is a wizard because that's kind of the theme with the Nightvault specific series of stuff, including magic. And she looks dope. Her hair is all flying up like she's casting something big. Obviously got that cool thing in her hand, like the energy kind of pulsing out of it. One thing that's pretty universal against all these guys is like the emphasis on fur as part of their decor and how they look. They look very primal, and I love that. I think it is awesome. Next to her is obviously a dog, and I would love if we got dogs. One thing that I was kind of not disappointed, I'm very interested to see is I would love it if the Darkoath book included hounds of some kind. I was really hoping that they would have a way to put Chaos Warhounds into my Slaves to Darkness models. Maybe that'll be it. I don't know. So we'll see. But dogs are awesome. Next to him is Conan the Barbarian, who is just what I'm going to call him because it's just what he looks like. He's big, he's mean, he's got all the things that make warriors great in Age of Sigmar, which is a large hat and a large weapon. So that's all you need. And beside him is an archer. Again, this really does emphasize the things that Nightvault has evolved into, where you have magic, different kinds of models in a unit, so the dog in this case, and then ranged weapons, so things like that. So very cool looking, very excited. So we'll go back to that here in a second. And it kind of gives us some more information about stuff. Like this is more apps and things like that. Command roster allows you to build out your kill team pretty easily. And the deck builder for Warhammer Warhammer Underworlds deck builder. Allows you to compose your cards for Underworlds. They're getting ready to do a second round of Warhammer Heroes, which is where you basically vote to have someone be acknowledged as like a big piece of the Warhammer community, which is cool. I was really happy to see Dave Witek. I believe he won last year. I don't know if I know he got nominated. I think he was up there. Dave Witek is the Garage Hammer podcast. And they're bringing back all of the podcasts. They had Stormcast, which they started for a while. It kind of teetered off because the 10-minute 3 times a week thing just wasn't jiving with the people, myself included. But they're going to come back with Stormcast and their Warhammer 40k variant of Voxcast, which is cool. I think this is the 14th exclusive Space Marine Lieutenant that we've had since the game launched. I think they're pretty good in the realm of lieutenants, but it's always cool to see unique models. I love stuff like this when it comes to like Kill Team. It's just great to have a bunch of unique looking dudes. And the last thing here is Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress. If you haven't been paying attention to the community page, basically we had Silver Tower for AOS and then something over Hammer Hall, which were both like dungeon explorer type things, Warhammer Quest style. The second one was much more like you need a DM to run the game, much more like D&D style. But the first one was you're all cooperative to an extent, trying to survive the things that Tzeentch throws at you in the Silver Tower. This is kind of a similar thing, but for 40k. Now, what makes me very excited about this, if we're looking at it, first of all, it looks very similar in terms of you lay out tiles as you explore the, quote, fortress. I was going to say dungeon, but it's a fortress. The thing that I loved about Silver Tower when it came out was not necessarily the game. I have yet to play it. I'd still like to. I'm not really a large cooperative game night guy. I just don't have time for it. But the thing that was really important when that came out was the models that came out went on to become the Tzeentch faction, right? We got blue horrors, and like people were like, what do you mean there's blue horrors? And 40k players were buying droves of those things to fill up their ranks with blue horrors. Because in that kit you got blue horrors, brimstones, the Ogroid Thaumaturge, I believe, came in that one. And then I think that was our first Gaunt Summoner. A lot of stuff came in that set. So, pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, so that was, anyway, it was a huge deal. So there's a ton of models in this thing, and they're just kind of showing off some of them. This kind of looks like an Eldar Ranger. We have a really hefty Inquisitor, which I might just get that just because this would probably be me in the 40k universe. Just some hefty dude bringing the business with a metal arm, and I don't know. And to cap it all off, a look at new Chaos Space Marines. So that is super exciting. I hope that they're large and look good on the table. For this, like, again, I don't play these types of games terribly often. I want to try this one because it looks astounding. What I'm interested to see is how many of these models will work in Kill Team. And so that's kind of the thing that I'm headed towards with the channel. I want to start doing Kill Team games, and so there's just so many dudes in this box that I'm anxious to like see how many ways they bring them into the games. Obviously, Chaos Space Marines would work because they already do. These are just newer, better sculpts, which is very exciting for them. I would love for the Inquisitor to be a champion. They have the Kill Team leader things, commanders, stuff like that. So I'm very excited about that. So let's take a minute and kind of recap some deeper thoughts on these. Of course, with the biggest news, which is the next battle tome being Moonclan Grots. I have a lot of thoughts on these. The new warband for Night Vault looks incredible. Like, it looks incredible. I haven't seen people talking about playing it very much, but the models are fantastic, and more importantly, they do very closely resemble in size and scale and appearance the traditional Moonclan Grots. So I think those people who have a bajillion of the Battle for Skull Pass sets will not be disappointed. There was a large fear, at least with me, of investing in Moonclan Grots because I thought they were going to replace some of the base models, and it just doesn't look like they will, which is awesome. I'm really hoping we get new squigs. Hopefully. But I think that's pretty much it. I'm assuming it's going to be... I mean, it has enough diversity if they just add a bunch of spells and prayers and those kinds of things, it can kind of be its own thing. I don't think it requires as much factions being drawn into one as Beasts of Chaos did. But I'm very interested to see where they go. And even if they brought in bigger things like green skins, that'd be really cool. I know I would be really in favor of that. To be honest, not terribly interested in the Chariot. I just don't pay Beasts of Chaos. Realm of Chaos. I do want to focus on this one here as far as like expanding thoughts. First of all, I love the idea of really focusing on demons for several sets. I would love it if they made a Tzeentch Nurgle one next, because it just works for everybody. You know, the only game system it doesn't work for right now that they promote is Kill Team, because there's no demons. But even then, I mean, you get so much value out of it. The Flesh Hounds look incredible. Fiends look incredible. I'm assuming there's probably going to be more unique models. I think they even say there's new characters and units. Okay, so I'm assuming there's at least be one character. Could be a herald or something like that. Would be very, very interesting. If you saw something in that video that I missed, because everything looked pretty like we already have it. Maybe one of the Juggernauts is unique. I don't see anything super special. But if you know of something in that video, like in the background or something like that, that's super unique, please share it to me. I'm very excited about that. When I did the Beast of Chaos big reveal, I missed a Jabberslythe in the back, and I was like, oh, I thought he wasn't there. The chapter approved. Honestly, I'm into 40k. I don't even own the chapter approved, so I'm gonna hold my thoughts on that one. As far as narrative, now that everyone has rules for 40k, well, almost everyone. It's Orcs come out this weekend, Gene Stealer Cults, and I think that completes everything except for the Sisters of Chaos in this book. I'm really excited to see what they do with narrative stuff, because that's kind of what I'm holding off for. I don't want to just jump in and talk about all the 30 years of stuff that people already know about or are talking about. I want to talk about stuff going forward. And so the idea of this planet being the epicenter of lore and narrative and exciting things is really, really cool. Necromunda, again, I said, not super into it. I just don't know a lot of people who are playing it. A lot of people are selling their stuff off locally. I think it's more of a garage game for sure. But these models are fantastic and perfect for conversion. I cannot stress enough how excited I am for Darkoath stuff. I think I've had a video about them before. I might put another one up. But the simple fact of the matter is, what I would love is if Darkoath was its own thing. It had a few unique models, but allowed you to take Slaves to Darkness things, or if Darkoath became a keyword like a Chaos God or something like that, so that Warriors of Chaos had that option. The fur on the boots and stuff like that really closely matches the fur on the shoulders and jackets of all of the Warriors of Chaos. I think they blend in pretty darn well. The only model that when I think about, and if I imagine standing next to one of these things, is the Marauders. Because the way the Marauders are built in terms of their muscular sculpture, they kind of seem ridiculous. I don't mind the sculpts. Some people just hate them. I don't mind them. But I think they're going to be more pronounced as being ridiculous when you put them next to like this dude, Conan the Barbarian looking guy, who looks so much more scale and correct. I think that'll make them really stand out. But that is honestly the only thing that I think I don't like the seam of. You know, the Darkoath War Queen fits perfectly in here. The War Chieftain that came out with Silver Tower fits perfectly in here. I just love them. They're so stinking cool. She would be a great model. Even if you didn't take the unit, just use her, put a different head on, and use her as a wizard or something like that, a Chaos Sorcerer. Absolutely stunning. So if you didn't know, I have the Iron Jaws, I painted them up, but I'm actually looking to sell them, because I played a bunch of games with them, and I just found myself saying, I'd rather be playing my Slaves to Darkness or my Chaos stuff, because the truth of the matter is, I just enjoy that army so much more, and looking at these models gets me even more pumped for it. So yeah, that's exciting. Did it say when they're coming out? No, it doesn't really. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think of how releases would go. This would be probably a smaller release. So like they'd probably have these bigger boxes and all these things like that, and then slip this in on one random week. So yeah, very exciting. The deck building and command rosters, they're great assets. There's kind of quality of life improvements. Yeah, so that is awesome. Also, if you are doing Warhammer Heroes, I do suggest you vote, because there are a lot of content producers who make this hobby just awesome. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm not going to ask anyone to vote for me. What I will say is, though, is that people like Dave Witek and his co-host Alex, who do just a lot of work to make this hobby really, really awesome. There's obviously YouTubers. I love Phil the Glacial Geek for 40K stuff. There's people who take the time to make this hobby awesome, and share that awesomeness with others is super important. Those are kind of my deeper thoughts on this set. So thoughts from you. I want to know some things about my audience, what you all think, what is interesting to you. What do you want out of the Moonclan Grot book? What do you think of the Darkoath set from Night Vault? I almost said faction, but it's not quite a faction yet. We don't know much about it. What do you think that the Demons versus Demons box is going to be in terms of a standalone game? Are you looking forward to it? Are you a Slaanesh fan? Are you a Khorne fanatic and you just want those dogs? Tell me your thoughts. What are you most excited about? Leave in the comments down below. And I look forward to seeing you next time in my next video. One quick addendum here. Thank you all so much for your patience this last week. Had some personal emergencies I had to go deal with. Everyone's fine and healthy. Just some stuff I had to work through. And so we're coming back next week, and we're going to kick it off back in the saddle with Carriage and Overlords, as well as some cool hobby talk, including a walkthrough of how I speed paint a bajillion models. So if you are a fan of Moonclan Grots, join me as we do that.